Hi, welcome to the next chapter. My name is Michael Keating, and this is kind of my personal journey. About 8 weeks and 3 days ago, I was up for a network job that I didn't get because I was too fat. I decided on that day to lose weight in the safest, fastest way possible. So I checked out all kinds of options and found a documentary by Joe Cross called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead that's basically about a juice reboot. What he did was he went on just drinking juices for 30 days, and he ended up doing another 30 days after that, all across the country, and he lost about half his body weight, and he went from taking a lot of pills to taking no pills, and he went from having a bad skin rash for many years of his life to having no rash. Well, I decided that's what I was going to go on, and so in 30 days I lost 28 pounds on that. Now I kind of plateaued after that, and I went into a thing called the Warrior's Diet, and I've been on that for about a little bit more than a week now, and I've lost 9 pounds on that as of this morning. Now, first of all, let me stress to you, if you're ever going to go on a diet or an exercise program, please check with your doctor first, as that's really, really important. Now, I'm a true believer that you can do anything you set your mind to, and that human potential is absolutely limitless. So all you have to do is find the key to unlock that potential. For me, I believe that modeling is that key. Find somebody who has the success you want, and go find out step by step by step how they did it. And hopefully you'll achieve the same results, whether it's in weight or exercise, finances, relationships, motivation, or helping others, which is a major thing. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to bring in a lot of people who excel at something, and hopefully we'll find out how they did it. So let me know what you'd like to see and what we can actually do on a program that will actually help you. Now, that being said, one of the coolest things, well, first of all, let's go to commercial and we'll be right back.
Gravity is a Joke with comedy juggler Niels Dunker. Crowds from Europe to Asia, from Las Vegas to Dubai, have experienced the wonder and excitement of Niels Dunker live. The two biggest newspapers in his home country of the Netherlands called Niels hilarious and a juggling wonder. The Las Vegas Sun called his show impressive, and Nickelodeon simply called Niels the best. Three-time Variety Act of the Year, Niels Dunker is ready to bring you the same experience that has brought him to over 40 countries. Clubs, machetes, and even jokes are sent flying effortlessly in this fast and funny show full of variety. For comedy juggler Niels Dunker, gravity is a joke.
You know, one of the coolest things about having a show of my own is I get a chance to bring on some of my amazing friends. And somebody that excels in everything we talked about and embodies all the qualities I was talking about is a good friend of mine. He's an author, he makes instructional videos and websites, he speaks 3 languages, he's an international star, and often performing on cruise ships and for all kinds of important people. And then he's got thousands of fans. He's got 4 Guinness Book of World Records. He's one of the stars of the world-famous Comedy Barn right here in Pigeon Forge, and he's an expert. The thing to me that's the most important, he's an expert on social media and self-promotion. Now, he probably will tell you he is not, but trust me, this is absolutely critical in show business. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and watch some video of Niels Dunker.
Hey, I'm here with Chance. Chance got my book last year. He's been practicing all the time. He's a really good juggler now. But Chance, how did you learn how to juggle?
Well, I got this book right here.
But it's only a year ago that you got the book and started practicing, right?
It says, when you gave it to me, I read from the beginning. And then when I got to the how-to, I did what you were telling me. And then I would be able to juggle 3. And then I learned how to juggle 4. And I went on your YouTube channel and learned how to do 5.
everywhere he goes, he lets people know what you have taught him. Your books has helped him so much. He's read it from beginning to end. He studies it and he continues juggling every morning. He gets up and till he goes to bed at night.
He's juggling 5 balls right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, and let me get this right, it's Niels Dunker. Now, people get your name wrong all the time, right?
Yeah, the spelling here in the US is different than Europe. I'm from Holland.
Yeah, I absolutely know that. For me, I always think Niles because I've got a friend called Niles.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that's what it was, but it's actually Niels Dunker. So, ladies and gentlemen, Niels Dunker. There you go. Now, you probably don't remember this, but the very first time that we actually met, you were actually doing a preview show at the Comedy Barn years ago when I was still at the Comedy Barn, and we went out to dinner after that up in Gatlinburg. And one of the things that impressed me absolutely the most is that you asked my opinion. Here you are, this world-class juggler, the guy that absolutely knows how to do what he's doing, very competent in what you're doing, and you absolutely have your game. And yet you're asking my opinion and what would I do differently and how can you improve it? That's the mark of a true expert. And that I really think that's cool. And we actually came up with a lot of different ideas that day. Yeah. So what causes you to actually want to keep on going out and progressing? A lot of people, when they get to your status, that's it. They don't have to do anything else.
Well, it's more fun to learn new things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more fun to try new routines, try new bits, get better.
Uh-huh.
Just try stuff you have not done. Like I know the stuff that I can do. And it's more fun to try new stuff. Like it is a baby, you want to grow. As a kid, you want to try new stuff and learn. And a lot of adults forget that. And I think it's a lot of pleasure for me. It's in trying new stuff and getting better. Just challenging myself.
Well, that's cool. I mean, like every night you're at the Comedy Barn, you're doing 1 or 2 or even 3 shows in a day, and that's so it's not like you're not getting practice in.
Well, also at the Comedy Barn, like with any shows, like you can do 1,000 times the same show. Mm-hmm. Where you have the opportunity to try 1,000 different shows. So the structure of the show, of course, is going to be the same.
Yeah.
But like every time how you tell a joke, for example, like if you put the emphasis right at the start of the joke or the end of the joke, it gets a different reaction from the crowd. So it's kind of cool to experiment, to have a show that is a steady show, and you get to do a 100 shows every month. But then tweak this one, try this one, just to see how the difference is when you present something, slow down a little bit on jokes, speed up a little bit, and how the crowd's response is different.
Yeah, that's very cool. I actually, years ago, got involved in an amusement park show where I was doing 5 shows a day, and I had to do, and we kept on changing stuff all the time. It drove them crazy that I kept on changing stuff. But
yeah, for me, the cues for the technicians, they're all the same. Mm-hmm. So for the people that running the show, it's all the same, but just for me, like I changed myself. Yeah, like so it's not different for the people to run it, but for me it's a little bit different. So I understand the crowds better, and also then when I put a new bit into the show, then that will play better too, because I know, okay, if I present it this way, people like that better than I present it that way.
Well, that's cool. That's cool, and that's actually, as I said, that's the mark of a true professional. And that now, out of curiosity, now this is really strange. I mean, you could have been anything. You could have been a tap dancer, you could have been a singer, you could have been a magician, anything. Why juggling? How did you get into juggling?
Actually, it's more like it's very, for me, like a tap dancer was not really, the other thing would be being a mechanical engineer, because that's what I went to college for. So it would be more like mechanical engineering or juggling, but I already knew that I wanted to juggle before. Like I started for the first time, I tried one time when I was 8 years old, then I didn't really know how to do it, and there was no YouTube, there was nothing of that stuff. So now I was at 12 years old, I found the book, and then a couple of my friends could juggle as well, so then we started practicing. And then I was 13, I started doing small shows, and then just grew from there. And yeah, just slowly after 10 years, then I was good enough to do it professionally. And also that was the time that I finished college as well. And there was a theme park that booked me, and then with that video I got onto the cruise ships. And from there, that was really cool because I got to do a 45-minute show with juggling, with comedy. And I did that for 8 years, but then I got a little bit tired of all the traveling. And then this opportunity here, Pigeon Forge, opened up for me. And because David Fee saw me at one of the other shows that I did, and then invited me to be part of the show, and now I'm here.
I'm glad he did. I mean, you actually make that show over there. It's what you do is actually amazing.
Thank you so much.
And that now, actually, how do you go about? Here's a good question for you. How do you go about creating? First of all, you said that you did a 45-minute show.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that, but juggling is very, very varied. It's not, not just somebody doing 3 balls or 4 balls or 5 balls. You can actually do an entire show just with juggling, and that because there's so many different types of juggling.
Yeah, it's kind of funny if you think about it. Like, for example, music. Everybody knows you have classical music, you have rock, you have all these different genres, but somehow they don't know enough about juggling to understand. Yeah. With juggling, you have all these different styles too. So of course you have all the different props. You can juggle cups, you can juggle balls, you have rings, clubs, but then you have tons of balancing stunts. You have smaller juggling tricks, bigger juggling tricks. But it's also tough because nowadays, like most people see or kid's birthday party or street performer. So those are 2 smaller venues. Like it's very rare that as a juggler that you get to play the big theaters. But before, like 100 years ago in vaudeville, they had really these big houses, and there's a lot of like really big juggling routines in those times that people don't get to see that much anymore. But you have all these different styles, so if you mix all these different styles, and then you have also the different presentations, you can do a piece to the music, you can do a comedy juggling piece, you can invite a volunteer up on the stage. So if you mix all those different styles, it's similar like a magic show. When you go to Magic Beyond Belief, you have small card magic, but you also have the big illusions, you have escapes, you have all this amazing stuff. And the same with juggling. If you parallel that, you can do like a smaller routine with juggling balls, then some with a kid, and then that way you can really create a really fun, diverse show. But people have not seen it, so it's also more difficult because they have no idea what it could be.
Yeah, I would think that too. I mean, it'd be one of those things that's very tough to market, but I think you could do an amazing show just with juggling.
Yeah, and so like actually on the cruise ships I did 45 minutes. Then in Amsterdam I did my own show. That was I booked an opening act, and I did 65 minutes by myself. And last week with Jessica Jane we did a 90-minute show in a performing arts center. It was a 1,600 seats performing arts center, and the client was very, very happy. And so it is possible. It's just like now. Yeah, promoting it more, doing it more often.
Yeah, you just have to kind of train people that this is a thing.
Yeah.
You can do that. And I can very well see with different set pieces and different levels that you're on.
And it's also like in the intro of this show, you mentioned the modeling. But the same, like if you create a video, like if you do the show, you get a really clear promo video, then it's also easier for theater bookers to see what it could be.
Yeah. Because
it's right there, so that's kind of like modeling too.
Well, that's true. That's true. Now, how do you go about actually? Now, you do a lot of different types of things. I've seen you probably do about 18 different things with juggling. How do you go about creating what you do? I mean, like those cups themselves.
Well, the creating process goes different. Like different ways that you get about the routine. So one interesting thing, like I thought, like okay, for example, if you have Vincent van Gogh. Like he has an entire museum, the Vincent van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
If you're a painter and you only make one piece of art, you have only one painting, you can never have your own museum. You can be a piece in somebody else's museum. So you see also painters in his museum that inspired him, and But like the same, like when you're, like for example, the Comedy Barn. If you only do a small juggling act with a little bit of comedy, you can be an act in somebody else's production show. But if you want to have your own show, you got to have all those different pieces.
Yeah.
And also, like, it started out when I was a kid. They had this juggling catalog, and you get balls, clubs, rings, and I was just greedy. I just want to have all the props in the catalog, just because I like them so much as toys. And but then I saved up for them. I bought them. It's like, okay, now I saved up for them. I better, you know, learn at least something with it. Otherwise, it's kind of stupid just to have it. So that really helped me to create all this different, to have a bit of skill with balls, a bit of skill with a Chinese yo-yo, a bit of skill with a devil stick, with the cigar boxes, juggling the hats. And then it actually became very handy for the cruise ships, because a lot of jugglers on the cruise ship too, they have skills to juggle the balls, the clubs, the rings. But basically that's only toss juggling, throwing stuff in the air. When you also have, for example, this kind of stuff, it's juggling too, but it looks way different. So if you mix the toss juggling with the balls, the clubs, with a routine like this, it's something else for the audience to look at. And then you can go to the head juggling, totally different look. And then you go to the balancing skill, totally different look. So in the beginning, all the standard props was just out of grade, just from the juggling catalog. And then, for example, now the cups, like, these are cups. I modified them so they look like solo cups, but like originally they were just metal shaker cups. And then my friend Freddie Kenton, he's now 80 years old. When he was like 20, 30 years old, he saw Rudy Cardenas here in the United States performing in Las Vegas in one of the shows, and he got very, very inspired. Then he went back home to Europe, and he was the first one to start doing those tricks in Europe. So he got the shaker cups. It's kind of cool. So this is just one, very simple, but then you can do two, you can do three, and then at one point, you can do all this. You can do a lot of different tricks and routines with that one too. It's not very common, but Freddie inspired me to start practicing these tricks.
Well, that's cool.
He said, like, because there's so many, everybody juggles the balls, the clubs, the rings. If you want to get bookings, it's easier to get good bookings if you have something that is different than all the other jugglers. Because why would you go out of your way as a theater booker to get the specific act?
Same thing you're doing.
If that specific act does the same thing as 10 other acts.
Yeah.
But if you are the only one that does a specific, like this act, for example, like I changed them from metal cups into solo cups, because I know, like, here,
see, that's bright. That's
everybody
really bright.
at parties, they love these cups, so it's very relatable to people. So now in the Comedy Barn show, the live band sings a modified version of Toby Keith's, like, a red solo cup of the song. And then we got a really big person that looks like a cup, so I get these cups out of the big cup, and it becomes like a theme around it instead of just, and that's kind of cool too, because then it's not about just the juggling tricks. All the cool juggling tricks are there, but then it becomes like a theatrical piece, so it's more interesting. So if you're amazed by the juggling tricks, it's cool, but then also it gives a feel about having a party with a live band, so it becomes so much bigger than just a juggling trick.
And that's, you know, that's really important, because as you go along, I mean, certainly you could theme anything to anything. You could do 50s theme stuff, you could do steampunk theme stuff, you can do all kinds of things that the surface hasn't even scratched yet. And that I honestly see that your future is like way up here. And that this is a stopping point, but you're going to be way up there. And that because you think ahead of the curve, which is really, really great. And in fact, this kind of brings up the next point there, where you change the metal cups into the solo cups. If you look at his book, he actually has that on the front, and he's actually drinking from one of the solo cups. This is brilliant. This is, when the first time I saw that, I said, that's somebody I would book. And that because, first of all, it looks like you're having fun. It looks like you're very good at what you do, and it looks like you're doing it with an everyday object.
I always want to look, when I see promo photos, it's nice if the picture tells a story. And with this one, it's like, okay, I want to be skilled. I want to have, like, fun. So like this photo to me, it tells comedy juggler. And with that prop, so.
No, it's absolutely great.
It's actually funny because my friend Tony Casters, he made a drawing like years ago in a juggling cartoon book that my friend Karin Seaton published, and I helped him now publish the other book last year, like his big masterpiece. But
That's
what
the
is-
encyclopedia of
Yeah.
juggling.
So there
Yeah.
was like a drawing in one of their books that different, but so I got inspired by that drawing, and then I was like, oh, with the cups, it kind of makes perfect sense to. So I got inspired by that drawing, and then just took that photo.
Well, that's cool. I know. I mean, one of the things that you do is you put out a lot of product. I mean, you have like the videos, you've got the books. As you said, he's a contributor to the Encyclopedia of Juggling. What's that actually called?
So like, well, you have this guy in Berlin. He's like almost 80 years old now too, and all his life he's been traveling all over the world to learn about the history of juggling, and
Yeah.
he has been writing a lot of books about them. So basically, he was the only one in that era that actually cared for that. So he really like started and like went to meet like all the old school jugglers that are not around anymore, and he wrote down about them and the facts, the stories, where they worked. So without him, all that piece of history, juggling history,
It'd be gone.
wouldn't be there. Nobody would know. So he really did a lot for that, and so I helped him publish that book. He had this really thick pile of paper, and for 20 years he tried to get it published. Nobody did it, and nowadays with printing on demand, it becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
And then my friend, she used to do the layouts for books, but she got laid off. She's now back home, so it was a good combination to connect those two people, and now the book is there.
Well, that's cool because you put out product yourself
Yeah.
for yourself. Now, you've got a career and you've got money coming in from that career. Now, some people actually, if they're on the road, they'll put together a videotape that doesn't look anything like this. This one is very professionally well done, and that the graphics are amazing, and I know you went to a graphics person for that, but ultimately you're the one that decides that's what I want, that's the look I want, and that and you put out the books and things like that. That's, to me, that's very, very interesting, and that because a lot of people when they're on the road actually they have this for back of room sales, but it's usually cheap versions of things.
Yeah.
And that the fact that you want a quality version is
I
great.
think the printing costs and everything for a crappy book or a good book, they're the same.
Yeah.
It's just the amount of thinking you put into the product yourself. Like if it's clear instructions, it takes more energy for me to write it, but it's not more to publish it. So it's like, okay, if it's just something that takes me more time and I have the time while I'm traveling, let's make it a good product.
That's a good way to spend your time. Well, it looks like our time's just about done.
Yeah.
I wish we had another hour because there's so much more that you could learn about Niels Dunker, and that. But we'll hopefully have him back again on another show. And that, meanwhile, live to your biggest potential and become the best that you can be. Good night, everybody.